Imagine this scene. You, with a calm heart, walking home, trusting everything is fine. But then, suddenly, a void. The kind of void that swallows you whole. That's what happened to one mother, and what she went through will send chills down your spine. It was a peaceful late afternoon. A mother with a baby in a stroller and a 3-year-old daughter running and playing around her. The park was calm, flowers blooming, and everything seemed perfect. But, as we know, tranquility never lasts. The daughter wandered off, playing as usual, running between the pillars near the entrance of the building where they lived. "Where's my little girl?" The mother jokes, calling her daughter for a game, but something was wrong. The silence was deafening, a strange feeling gnawing at her stomach. The park, once a field of joy, now felt like a dark, eerie scene. The daughter, who always hid behind the pillars, disappeared without a trace. "Where are you, my little trickster?" What should have been just another game quickly turned into a nightmare. She started searching, calling her name, passing each pillar, but what she found was the echo of nothingness. The feeling of panic began to creep in. She felt her chest tighten, her throat dry. Her daughter was gone. No more jokes. She ran inside the building. "Mom, I lost her." The shout echoed through the hall, her voice frantic with fear. Turning the corner, she met her neighbor, and in seconds, the building transformed into a search field. She ran from one side to the other, her heart beating faster than her legs could move. But she couldn't leave the baby. She couldn't run fast enough, and time was slipping away. Her mind was a battlefield. Maybe she's already gone. She couldn't stop thinking. A car, someone might have thrown her in one. She could be on the other side of the city by now, and no matter how far she ran, it wouldn't matter. She saw her in a car, scared, crying. And then it came, the worst image. She saw her hurt, taken, lost. She heard her daughter's cries for mommy, daddy, and her little brother. And in that moment, she felt the emptiness inside her, a cold void where her heart once was. But then something caught her eye. A woman in the distance, walking across the field near her daughter's kindergarten. The woman was holding a little girl by the hand, walking together. It was her child, but she didn't recognize her. The fear was so overwhelming that for a moment, she didn't recognize her own daughter. She couldn't dare to believe it, couldn't waste time with some woman and her granddaughter when her child could be anywhere. And then came the most beautiful word in the world, "Mommy." She was running toward her, and the mother's knees buckled as her body gave way. She collapsed, her daughter leaping into her arms. It was as though life had returned to her blood. She grabbed her as if she were the only thing keeping her from drowning. "What happened?" she whispered, barely able to speak. Her daughter explained, her voice soft and innocent. She thought her mother was following her, playing a game, and simply wanted to show how grown-up she was. The old lady told her how the daughter had approached her, asking for help. "I lost my mom. Her name is Iva, and if you see her, please tell her I'm looking for her." The woman took her hand in search of the mother, and the mother, overwhelmed with gratitude, invited the woman in for coffee and cake, but she declined and went on her way. The search ended. The little runaway was found. She took her daughter inside, made her cocoa, and wrapped her in a blanket. But inside, the mother still wasn't at peace. The night went on. The daughter played, the baby cooed, and the mother put them to sleep with stories and kisses. But as silence settled, she sat alone, reflecting, her heart bruised by the terror of what could have been ached. That love, so immense, so terrifying. How could something so pure be so vulnerable? And as she thought about the events of that night, she realized that the pain of that day would never leave her. That kind of love, the love of a parent, is a burden carried for life. A love that makes you realize, for the first time, how much someone can mean to you. When I write these words, I remember the mother's anguish, the horror that filled her soul, and tears streamed down my face as I realized that, in the end, the fear of losing what you love most is the most horrifying terror of all. And you, dear reader, have you ever imagined losing something that's a part of your very being? Something that is your flesh, your blood, your heart, your breath, your everything? May all your little ones sleep safely in your arms tonight, and for all the nights of their childhood. May they grow up safely, to discover the world and their paths. May no one and nothing ever take them from you. You're about to hear a tale of childhood curiosity gone horribly wrong. A tale that'll make you think twice about wandering too far from home or disobeying the rules of the people who love you. Brace yourselves, because this one is sure to crawl under your skin. It all started when a young girl and her 5-year-old brother spent the summer at their grandmother's house. A peaceful, rural life filled with chickens, pigs, and open fields. But like most kids, boredom crept in after a while. What began as innocent fun, feeding animals and playing with the dog, soon turned into something far darker. The two siblings, though warned not to wander beyond the fields, ventured further and further until one day, they stumbled upon an old, abandoned house. The sight of it was enough to pique their curiosity, but before they could act on their fascination, Grandma's voice rang out, pulling them back inside with the harshness of a rule that could not be broken. But kids are persistent, and curiosity often has a way of trumping good sense. That night, as the moon crept over the horizon, the siblings lay in bed, whispering about the house. The allure of the unknown was too strong. It gnawed at them, tempting them to disobey. And so, the next evening, under the cover of Grandma's distraction, they slipped away. Over the fence and toward the decrepit structure they went, until they found it. A house abandoned by time, its windows boarded up and its garden overrun with weeds. A place where no one had tread in years. But the house was locked up tight. The boards on the windows were secure, and the door, too, was barred. Around back, the yard was thick with tall grass, and there stood an old, decrepit outhouse, sitting like a sentinel, watching the children as they explored. The air was thick with an unnatural silence. No birds, no wind, just a haunting stillness that made the hairs on the back of the girl's neck stand on end. She told her brother it was time to go back, but he had other plans. "I need to go to the toilet," he insisted, his small face scrunching in discomfort. "Wait until we get back," she urged, her voice tense, but her brother was insistent. And so he went. Into the old outhouse he went, closing the door behind him. The girl, nervous but still too curious to leave, walked around the house again, trying to peer through the boards, desperate to catch a glimpse of something, anything, that would explain the chilling presence of this forsaken house. But the inside was too dark. There was nothing to see. Eventually, she grew restless and returned to the outhouse, knocking on the door, shouting for her brother to hurry. But there was no answer. She pushed the door open, and to her shock, the outhouse was empty. Her brother had disappeared. Assuming he'd wandered off, she returned to their grandmother's house, her heart racing, thinking that perhaps her brother was already back. But when she asked Grandma, the answer was no. Her brother wasn't home. A search around the house yielded no clues. Panic began to set in, but Grandma scolded her for being ridiculous. Then, a thought hit her like a cold, sickening wave. The outhouse. Could her brother have fallen in? She ran back down the road, heart pounding in her chest. She jumped over the fence, rushed to the old toilet, and flung the door open. But there was no filth, no sign of her brother, just dry earth. Where had he gone? Confused and terrified, she returned to the house. But that's when she saw him, a man, rushing down the road. In his arms, he carried something large, something familiar. The girl's heart stopped when she recognized her brother's jacket, torn and stained with blood. The man handed her brother over to Grandma. The boy, though alive, was in a strange state. His face was scratched, his clothes torn, and then he whispered to his sister, "Am I alive?" Over and over, his voice trembling with fear. Grandma rushed him to bed, but something wasn't right. Her brother's constant questioning echoed in her mind. "Am I alive?" The next morning, when her parents arrived to collect them, things took an odd turn. Her brother's bed was already made. When she stepped outside, she noticed the adults talking in hushed tones. Grandma was in tears. Something was horribly wrong. The girl overheard the adults discussing her brother. He was missing, gone, disappeared without a trace. The horror set in. Her brother, her dear, sweet brother, was gone, and he never came back. And so, dear listeners, remember this. Sometimes curiosity doesn't just kill the cat. Sometimes it kills the very soul. The next time you're tempted to wander past those boundaries, ask yourself, what could be lurking just out of sight? Because once you go too far, you may never return. Buckle up, because tonight's tale is about a lonely, late-night drive that takes a terrifying turn. Imagine this: a brand new car, the kind you've been dying to take out on the road to test its power. It's a clear night. You've got the Mumbai-Pune Expressway all to yourself, the road stretching out like an empty vein in the dark. But like all good horror stories, something isn't quite right. The air's thick with something you can't quite place. And that's where our story begins. It was a Thursday night, around 11:30 p.m., when our protagonist, let's call him Raj, decided to take the plunge. His new Verna 4S Fluidic was purring under the moonlight. The drive from Mumbai to Pune was just what he needed. An impromptu business trip had called him out, but the road? Oh, that was a different story. The music cranked up, the windows rolled down. The wind hit his face, cool and clean, and the thrill of speeding up made him forget all his worries. At 180 kilometers per hour, Raj was floating on that highway, free, as the miles melted into nothingness. Then it happened. A moment of weakness. A second where his eyes fluttered shut. Just a blink, but it was enough. A loud thud. The sound of metal hitting something. Raj snapped awake, with a heart racing in his chest. Shit, did I just fall asleep at the wheel? He pulled over, trembling, and grabbed his flashlight. He stepped out of the car, the beam of light slicing through the darkness. There was nothing. No body. No crash. Just the eerie silence of the highway. Raj sighed in relief, but the unease still gnawed at him. He promised himself he'd never let that happen again. Raj finally made it to Pune by 2 a.m. He parked, got some sleep, and by the morning, the business was done. His friend and his wife invited him to stay another day, and though Raj was tired, he didn't want to disappoint. They had a good time, chatting late into the night, until his friend mentioned Johnny, a mutual acquaintance. Come on, you have to see him. He's been asking about you forever. Raj couldn't refuse. They had a few drinks, laughed, and by the time Raj looked at his phone, it was already midnight. Time flies when you're having fun, he thought. His work in Mumbai was waiting, but he had to leave. He bid his goodbyes, though a little tipsy, and headed out. But as he slid into the driver's seat of his car, Raj froze. There, hanging from the rearview mirror, was a small toy, a doll. It wasn't there when he left earlier. Confused, he turned to his friend. Did your kids put this up here as a prank? His friend shrugged, but both kids denied it. His friend and his wife claimed they'd never seen it before. Raj shrugged it off. It's just a stupid doll. It's cute, his friend said, but Raj didn't find it cute. Something about the doll, its face, its strange presence, didn't sit right with him. He chalked it up to the drinks, the late hour, and the fatigue. Get a grip, Raj, he muttered under his breath. But as he started the car, the doll stared at him, its eyes following his every movement. The highway was empty, as expected. Not a single car in sight. Raj sped onto the expressway, his eyes drifting between the road and that damn doll. By 12:15 a.m., he was on the expressway again, speeding back to Mumbai, the silence of the road pressing in. The doll didn't leave his thoughts. He tried to focus on the drive, but the toy's eerie face lingered in his mind, casting a shadow over the music blaring in the background. Then it happened again, a thud. The engine stuttered. Raj's heart skipped a beat. Not again. Was he dreaming? No, this was real. He pulled over at the same spot near Lonavala, the same spot from last night. A chill ran through him. The car seemed to shudder as if it was alive. He grabbed his flashlight again, scanning the dark highway. Nothing. Not even the wind stirred the trees. But then, something caught his eye. The doll. It was gone. The little figure that had hung from the rearview mirror was no longer there. Raj's pulse quickened. Had it fallen off? Was he imagining things? He checked every inch of the car, but there was no sign of the toy. Relieved, he started the engine again. The car purred to life, and he hit the road once more, the eerie feeling still hanging over him like a dark cloud. The rest of the drive was uneventful. Raj reached Mumbai by 2:30 a.m., parked the car, and entered his flat. But something felt off. The lights were on. He clearly remembered switching them off before he left. Was he just forgetful? Maybe. But the air was cold, unnaturally cold for a summer night. Raj shrugged, thinking the AC had been left on. But the scent, there it was again. A faint, unfamiliar perfume, clinging to the air in the flat. Something wasn't right. Then he saw it. The doll. It was lying on his bed, staring up at him. His hands trembled as he reached for the newspaper on the doorstep. The headline caught his eye. Hidden run incident near Lonavala. Girl killed at midnight. Raj's stomach dropped. The cold sweat started to form as he scanned the article. No one has been apprehended yet, it read. His mind raced as the room spun. The toy, no, the doll, had been in the same spot every time, watching, waiting. As Raj lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, he couldn't escape the sensation that the doll was more than just a toy. It was asking him something he wasn't ready to understand.